it's Brianna for Triumphant Tuesdays. This week we're going to be talking about some of the reasons people may develop eating disorders, and the goal of this video is to help you guys figure out how you might have developed yours. I'm sorry about my appearance in this video. I'm getting ready for bed, and I realized this was the only time that I was going to be able to make this video that it was going to be able to be put up. Wow. So I think the content is really important, so I'm just going to try to forgive myself for my appearance. But I thought of some questions you could ask yourself, and I think that you should talk about these with a therapist or somebody you trust, but preferably a therapist because they're trained in that area. But, some of the answers could be really sad or it could really surprise you, so I think that you should talk them out with somebody. But if you think back of when your eating disorder started, most people have an idea of when it started. What was going on at that time? Is there anything that you weren't coping with well? Or do you have any trauma that you're not talking about? Do you have any secrets that you're not talking about? Or even if you are, they can be really traumatic. Are you different in any way? Do you have any physical or emotional disabilities? How were you treated growing up? Have you struggled in the work environment? It could really be anything, and so just try to ask yourself and figure it out. And it can be really hard to figure out, but my biggest suggestion is that you just talk to your therapist about it, and I'm not trying to simplify it or, pass my advice video off to a therapist. I'm not, but everyone develops eating disorders for different reasons. And if you want to know how you developed yours, I think that's the best way to figure it out is through therapy. But I also want to say that you can go through your whole recovery process, refeeding, getting back to a normal life, doing really well, without knowing what that reason is. Don't allow not knowing what the reason is that you developed your eating disorder as a reason not to recover, because you can go through recovery without knowing. I did. And I'm not telling you guys to do something I didn't do. I went through my whole eating disorder experience without knowing why I developed an eating disorder, and it wasn't until about maybe a year and a half ago that I figured it out. And my therapist at the time was like, well, that could be part of it, but I don't think it's all of it. But for me, it was. So if you think you know why you developed an eating disorder and that's what you think, and that's what you really believe, that's probably what happened. People can give us advice, and I can sit here on this video and give you advice, and a therapist can give you advice, and other girls on this channel can give you advice, and anyone can give you advice, really. But nobody knows your whole story except for you. So if you think there's a certain reason you developed an eating disorder, work on that. Work through that issue, because you're probably right. I mean, I've had treatment professionals argue with me over why I developed an eating disorder, but I know why I developed one, and that really helped me move forward in recovery. But like I said, you can go through your entire recovery process without knowing why you developed an eating disorder. I'll always believe that nutrition is the first part of recovery, and it's the most important part. So no matter where you are in recovery, let's say you're doing work and therapy to figure out why you had an eating disorder, or you're doing trauma work, or you're just talking about something that's hard, and because you're doing hard work, you notice your eating starts to slip. I think you should change topics in therapy and not talk about that until you can get back on track, because therapy and talking isn't beneficial unless you're nourished. So nourishment is always the first priority to me, and I don't think that recovery can happen unless you're nourished, because your brain has to heal, as I've gone over before. And let's say you talk to your therapist and you find out why you developed an eating disorder, and that's really hard for you to deal with. That also happened to me too. and you might feel guilty or sad or upset about why you developed an eating disorder, and that might bring up really painful emotions, but you're not your experience. What happened to you is not who you are. And I don't think of eating disorders as addictions. I think of them as bad coping. So something happens and you turn to an eating disorder and you cope in a bad way. Yes, there's better coping mechanisms, but let's just say you chose an eating disorder, so you didn't choose the best one. Struggles and mistakes are our best learning opportunities. If you think about it, like everything you've learned, it's probably because you did it wrong the first time. And it's probably because you struggled. We can learn so much from our mistakes and our struggles, and that's what makes us who we are, what we learn from our mistakes and how we apply what we learned. So now I'm recovered from an eating disorder, and now I want to go to school to be a therapist. And I want to work in a residential facility and let people know that it's possible to recover. And that's why I make these vlogs, is to let you guys know that it's possible. And if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't be able to help the people I help and do the things I do and be the person that I am. It wouldn't have happened. So just make the most out of your struggles and realize that they all happen for a purpose and that you can use them in a positive way. And just because you struggle, it's okay. Just get yourself back up. I love the quote. I think it's a proverb, actually. It's, they fall, and falling they're given wings. I think when we struggle, we learn to do something correctly, and so therefore we're given wings and we're able to use our experience in a positive light. So just embrace the fact that you're going to fall and try to learn from it. I'm really tired, so I'm going to end this, but have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.